The first time my wife told me I belonged at home, we were alone. The last time, she said it in front of 300 people. I stood near the back of the ballroom at Carter Dynamics' annual awards gala, holding a glass of sparkling water while Lauren laughed with a circle of executives. Technically, she was no longer my wife. Our divorce had been finalized 11 days earlier. But most people at her company didn't know that yet. Lauren had insisted we keep it quiet until after the gala. Timing matters, Shane, she had told me. I'm being considered for regional director. I don't need people asking questions about my personal life. My personal life. That was what our 7-year marriage had become to her. A public relations problem. I should have refused to come. Instead, I wore the navy suit I hadn't touched in years and showed up because Lauren said it would look strange if I didn't. She always knew which words would make me feel responsible. Shane. A woman from accounting smiled at me. I almost didn't recognize you. I get that a lot. You look good. Thanks. She glanced toward Lauren. She told us you don't come to corporate events because crowds aren't really your thing. I nearly laughed. Crowds had never bothered me. Before Lauren convinced me to leave my job, I had pitched campaigns in rooms full of investors. I had stood in front of hostile clients and made them believe in products they had already decided to hate. Then Lauren got promoted. Her hours became longer. Her travel became constant. We talked about hiring help. She cried. I can't do this without you, she had said. Just for a year. Stay home until things settled down. 1 year became 6. By the end, she introduced me as the domestic one. I looked at the woman from accounting. Lauren's told people a lot of things. Before she could respond, someone tapped a spoon against a glass. The room quieted. Lauren stepped onto the small stage, wearing a silver dress and the smile she reserved for people she wanted to impress. Thank you all for being here, she began. This year has been extraordinary for our division. Applause followed. I watched her accept praise for the Wilson account. My stomach tightened. I had helped her build the entire proposal. 3 months earlier, Lauren came home close to midnight, dropped a stack of reports on the kitchen table, and said, I'm going to lose this client. I stayed awake until 4 in the morning. I rewrote her presentation. I changed the pricing structure. I found the emotional angle that made Wilson's board believe the campaign could rescue their dying brand. Lauren won the account 2 days later. She never mentioned my name. On stage, she smiled as her supervisor handed her a crystal award. This success proves something I've always believed, Lauren said. Ambition requires sacrifice. Her eyes found mine. The smile didn't leave her face. Some people are made to build companies, she continued. Others are better suited to supporting the people who do. A few people turned toward me. My hand tightened around the glass. Lauren's friend Megan leaned toward another manager and whispered something. They both laughed. I knew that laugh. Lauren had used it at dinner parties whenever someone asked what I did. He keeps the house running, she would say. Not everyone is career material. At first, I laughed with her. Then I stopped finding it funny. Lauren stepped down from the stage and walked directly toward me. The executives around her followed like she was leading a parade. Why are you hiding back here? She asked. I'm not hiding. You've barely spoken to anyone. I wasn't aware I was here to perform. Her smile sharpened. Don't start. I haven't said anything. That's usually how you start. Megan covered a laugh with her hand. Lauren's boss, Richard Hale, looked between us. Everything okay? Of course, Lauren said. Shane just gets uncomfortable at events like this. I'm standing right here, I said. Lauren tilted her head. Then act like it. The conversation around us died. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Lauren had mastered the art of humiliating me in a calm voice. Richard cleared his throat. Lauren tells us you've been a huge support during the Wilson deal. For 1 second, I thought she might admit the truth. Instead, Lauren gave a soft laugh. Support is generous. Shane made coffee and reminded me to eat. Megan smiled. That's sweet. It is, Lauren said. He's very good at taking care of the house. I rewrote the proposal, I said. Lauren froze. Richard blinked. You did. I restructured the pricing model and developed the family revival concept. Lauren's face changed. Only slightly. But I knew every version of her anger. Shane, she said quietly, this isn't the time. You brought it up. I said you supported me. You said I made coffee. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. Megan looked delighted. Richard looked uncomfortable. Lauren stepped closer. Can we discuss this privately? We discussed it privately for 6 years. Her jaw tightened. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I think I finally stopped doing that. Someone behind Richard whispered my name. Lauren heard it. Her career had always mattered more than our marriage, but her reputation mattered more than anything. She straightened her shoulders. Fine, she said. You want everyone to know the truth? I stared at her. She lifted her voice. The truth is Shane hasn't held a real job in 6 years. Silence spread through the ballroom. Lauren continued before I could answer. He stayed home because that was where he was most useful. I paid the mortgage. I paid the bills. I built a future while he spent his days cooking dinner and rearranging furniture. A few people looked away. Others didn't. People loved public cruelty when they weren't the target. I felt something inside me go still. You asked me to leave my job, I said. For 1 year. Then every time I tried to return, you said your career needed stability. Because someone had to be realistic. I turned down 3 offers for you. Lauren laughed. Actually laughed. And whose fault was that? The question hit harder than I expected. Not because it was clever. Because she meant it. All those nights she cried into my chest, telling me she couldn't survive without me. All those mornings she kissed me and promised my sacrifice was temporary. All those years I believed we were building her future together. Now she stood in front of everyone and acted as though I had chosen to disappear. Richard murmured, Lauren, maybe we should. No, she said. He wanted honesty. She looked directly at me. You were never meant for corporate life, Shane. You don't have the drive. You don't have the instincts. You're comfortable being taken care of. I almost admired how easily she rewrote history. I was taking care of you. And look where that got you. Her words landed between us. I set my glass down on a nearby table. Lauren's gaze dropped to my hand. What are you doing? Leaving. Her eyes narrowed. Don't make a scene. I looked around at the silent crowd. I think you already did. I turned toward the exit. Then Lauren said the one thing she could never take back. Go home, Shane. That's the only place you've ever belonged. I stopped. The doors were 20 feet away. I could have kept walking. Maybe that was what she expected. The quiet husband retreating while she stood victorious. But before I could move, another voice cut through the room. No. One word. Cold. Controlled. Absolute. Everyone turned. Evelyn Carter stood near the front of the ballroom. The CEO of Carter Dynamics had a reputation for making senior executives forget their own names during quarterly reviews. She rarely attended social events for more than 20 minutes, never smiled for photographers, and had once fired a vice president during lunch without putting down her fork. I had seen her only twice before, both times from a distance. Now she was looking at me. Not Lauren. Me. Lauren's face lost color. Ms. Carter. Evelyn walked through the crowd. People moved out of her way without being asked. She stopped beside Lauren. I heard the last part of that conversation, Evelyn said. Lauren swallowed. It was a private marital disagreement. Then you chose an unusual room for it. A few people lowered their eyes. Lauren forced a smile. Shane is emotional tonight. Evelyn glanced at me. He doesn't look emotional. He's going through a difficult transition. The divorce? Lauren's head snapped toward her. A whisper moved through the room. You knew? Lauren asked. Evelyn's expression didn't change. Your legal status is not difficult to confirm. Lauren's polished confidence began to crack. Then you understand this has nothing to do with the company. On the contrary, you publicly claim sole credit for work another person contributed to. That concerns me. Richard looked at Lauren. She stared at Evelyn. Shane isn't an employee. No, Evelyn said. Which makes using his work without acknowledgement even more troubling. Lauren turned toward me. What did you tell her? Nothing. That's true, Evelyn said. She took another step. The Wilson team submitted archived drafts with the final campaign report. Shane's name was embedded in the original strategy files. Lauren's lips parted. I stared at Evelyn. She had seen my work. Not as Lauren's husband. Not as the man who cooked dinner. As mine. Evelyn looked at Richard. The family revival concept increased Wilson's projected renewal rate by 38%. Who created it? Richard hesitated. According to the metadata, Shane. Lauren rushed in. He gave me a few ideas. That doesn't make him a strategist. Evelyn's eyes hardened. No, the quality of the work makes him a strategist. The room went silent again. This silence felt different. Lauren sensed it too. The power had shifted, and she couldn't stop it. She gave me a desperate look disguised as anger. Shane, tell her. You never wanted credit. I wanted my wife to succeed. And now you're punishing me because our marriage failed? I'm not doing anything. That's the problem, she snapped. You never do anything. Evelyn turned her head slowly. Lauren realized her mistake too late. The CEO's voice dropped. He helped secure one of this company's largest accounts while receiving no salary, no title, and no recognition. She paused. I would hardly call that nothing. Lauren's face burned red. You don't know him, she said. Evelyn looked at me again. For the first time, something in her expression softened. I know enough. Then she reached for my hand. Every person in that ballroom seemed to stop breathing. Her fingers closed around mine. Warm, firm, certain. I looked down, stunned. Evelyn pulled me away from the exit and brought me to her side. Not behind her. Beside her. Lauren stared at our joined hands. What exactly are you doing? She demanded. Evelyn faced her. Her voice remained calm, but the words struck harder than a shout. You said he only belongs at home. Lauren said nothing. Evelyn tightened her grip on my hand. Then you should have valued him while he was in yours. A ripple moved through the crowd. Lauren took one step forward. He's my husband. Ex-husband, Evelyn corrected. Her eyes swept across the executives, managers, and employees watching us. Then she pulled me half a step closer. From this moment on, Shane won't be standing behind anyone. My heart slammed against my ribs. Lauren's voice trembled. What does that mean? Evelyn looked directly at her. It means you let him go. She raised our joined hands where everyone could see them. Now he's mine. For 3 full seconds, no one moved. Evelyn still held my hand. Lauren stared at us as if the entire ballroom had tilted beneath her feet. Then she laughed. It wasn't real laughter. It was the sound people made when reality became too humiliating to accept. Yours? She repeated. You can't be serious. Evelyn didn't release me. I rarely say things I don't mean. This is a company event. Yes. And you're making a personal claim on my ex-husband in front of my entire division. Your division? Evelyn asked. Lauren's face tightened. Evelyn's gaze swept across the room. I was under the impression this was my company. No one laughed. That made it worse. Lauren looked at me. Shane, say something. I had imagined this moment in 100 different ways. In most of them, I exposed every lie Lauren had told. I reminded everyone how many nights I had stayed awake fixing her proposals. I told them how she had mocked me for being unemployed while begging me not to return to work because it would inconvenience her. But standing there with Evelyn's fingers wrapped around mine, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exposed. Evelyn, I said quietly, we should talk. Lauren flinched at the use of her first name. Evelyn looked at me. For the first time since she crossed the ballroom, uncertainty appeared in her eyes. Only for a second. Then she nodded. Of course. She turned to Richard. The awards program is over. Richard blinked. We still have 2. It's over. Yes, Miss Carter. Evelyn led me toward the private conference rooms beside the ballroom. I let her, mostly because pulling away in front of everyone would create an even larger spectacle. But the moment the door closed behind us, I removed my hand from hers. What was that? Evelyn faced me calmly. Lauren was humiliating you. That doesn't explain why you announced that I belonged to you. I said you were mine. That's somehow worse. A faint line appeared between her eyebrows. I was trying to stop her. You could have defended my work. I did. You could have corrected her publicly. I did that too. You didn't have to claim me like disputed property. Evelyn went silent. The room was small, built for private negotiations. A polished table stood between us, but neither of us sat down. Outside, muffled voices filled the hallway. Everyone was probably discussing us. Lauren would already be creating her version of what happened. Evelyn folded her arms. You're angry. I'm confused. You should be angry. Why? Because your ex-wife erased 6 years of your life and then mocked you for disappearing. I stared at her. The words hit too accurately. You don't know anything about my marriage. I know you left a senior strategy position at Belford Media 6 years ago. My chest tightened. I know you were responsible for the Halston rebrand, which increased their national sales by 22%. How do you know that? I read your work. When? Years ago. The answer came too quickly. I took a step closer. Years ago. Evelyn looked toward the glass wall, suddenly interested in the empty hallway. That was the first sign she wasn't as composed as she appeared. Your name came up during a competitive analysis, she said. My name hasn't come up anywhere in 6 years. It came up for me. There was something in her voice that made me stop. Not pity. Recognition. You knew who I was before tonight, I said. Yes. How long? Evelyn hesitated. Since before Lauren joined Carter Dynamics. I stared at her. Lauren had worked there for 4 years. You've known my name for more than 4 years? Yes. And you never said anything? You were married. That answer changed the room. I looked at her carefully. Evelyn Carter was not a woman known for nervousness. Financial magazines called her merciless. Competitors called her impossible. Employees lowered their voices when she entered elevators. Now she stood in front of me with her arms crossed too tightly. You followed my career? I asked. I followed good work. That isn't an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. Before I could press further, the conference room door opened. Lauren walked in without knocking. Megan hovered behind her. Evelyn's face turned cold again. This is a private conversation. Lauren ignored her and focused on me. We need to leave. I almost laughed. You don't get to say that anymore. Shane, this has gone far enough. You made sure of that. Her eyes flicked toward Evelyn. She's using you. Evelyn didn't react. Lauren continued. Do you really think the CEO of a billion-dollar company suddenly cares about your feelings? She saw an opportunity to embarrass me. You embarrassed yourself, I said. Lauren's mouth hardened. I was angry. You were honest. No, I wasn't. That surprised me. For a moment, her expression cracked. Then Megan shifted behind her, and Lauren rebuilt the mask. What I said was cruel, she admitted. But this spectacle is insane. Evelyn stepped forward. You're standing in a room you were told not to enter. Lauren looked at her. And you're interfering in my family. You ended that family 11 days ago. That doesn't mean he's available for you to parade around. I felt my patience snap. Stop talking about me like I'm not here. Both women looked at me. I turned to Lauren. You filed for divorce. You signed the papers. Because you told me our marriage was holding you back. It was. The word came out before she could stop it. Silence followed. Lauren closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she tried again. I mean, we were making each other miserable. No. You were ashamed of me. I was frustrated. You told your attorney I had no professional future and should accept a smaller settlement because you had supported me. Her face changed. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. Lauren lowered her voice. That was legal strategy. That was perjury. It was negotiation. You asked me to give up my career, then used the result against me. Megan quietly stepped away from the doorway. Lauren noticed, but couldn't stop her. You agreed to stay home, she said. I agreed to help my wife. And I appreciated it. No, you appreciated the convenience. Her eyes filled with anger. You think one dramatic speech from Evelyn changes who you are? No. I looked at the closed door behind her. It reminded me who I was before you. Lauren went still. That hurt her. I saw it. For years, she had convinced herself I had no identity outside our marriage. Maybe she needed to believe it. Otherwise, she would have to admit she had spent 6 years shrinking someone who loved her. She turned toward Evelyn. What do you want from him? Evelyn answered without hesitation. I want him to work for me. My head snapped toward her. Lauren laughed bitterly. There it is. I ignored Lauren. You want what? Evelyn walked to the table and opened a black folder I hadn't noticed. She pushed it toward me. Inside was a formal employment offer. My name was printed at the top. Shane Parker, Director of Brand Recovery. I stared at the salary. It was higher than Lauren's. Much higher. This was prepared before tonight, I said. Yes. Lauren moved closer, reading over my shoulder. Her face drained of color. You planned this. Evelyn looked at her. I planned to offer Shane a job. I didn't plan to watch you destroy his dignity before I could. Lauren looked back at me. You've been speaking to her. I haven't. She's lying. Evelyn's expression turned dangerous. Choose your next accusation carefully. Lauren swallowed. I lifted the contract. Why me? Because the Wilson strategy was the best recovery proposal this company has seen in 3 years. One proposal doesn't justify this position. No, your previous record does. That was 6 years ago. Talent doesn't expire because someone locked it in a kitchen. Lauren stepped toward her. I didn't lock him anywhere. Evelyn's gaze moved to her. No, you made him believe the door was his idea. Lauren recoiled as if she had been slapped. I looked back at the offer. The title felt unreal. The salary felt dangerous. The entire document seemed designed to force me into a life I wasn't sure I could still live. What happens if I say no? I asked. Evelyn's voice softened. Then I walk you out of this building. Make sure no one bothers you, and never mention the offer again. Lauren let out a breath. Then Evelyn added, but I'll still correct the Wilson account records. Your contribution will be officially documented. Lauren's relief vanished. You can't do that. I can. It will destroy my promotion. Evelyn looked at her with no sympathy. You should have considered that before accepting credit for someone else's work. Lauren turned to me. Shane, don't do this. I haven't done anything yet. You know what will happen if you take that job. I'll have a job. You'll humiliate me. I stared at her. Even now, that was what mattered. Not whether I wanted the position. Not whether I needed a chance to rebuild. Her humiliation. Evelyn seemed to reach the same conclusion. She leaned against the edge of the table and spoke with quiet precision. Ms. Parker, your former husband's career is not an attack on you. Lauren's eyes flashed. Stay out of this. No. The single word froze the room. Evelyn looked at me. I'm not asking you to accept tonight. She tapped the contract. Take 48 hours. Lauren immediately said, he doesn't need 48 hours. I closed the folder. Yes, I said. I do. Her mouth fell open. I faced Evelyn. I'll review it. Something almost like relief passed through her eyes. Good. Lauren grabbed my arm. We're leaving. I pulled free. You're leaving. Shane. I came because you said my absence would hurt your image. My voice remained calm. That is no longer my responsibility. For the first time in our marriage, Lauren had no answer. She looked from me to Evelyn, then back again. This isn't over. I believed her. Lauren never walked away from a loss. She turned and left, slamming the door behind her. The silence afterward felt heavier than the argument. I held the folder against my side. Evelyn studied me. I'm sorry. I raised an eyebrow. For which part? Claiming you in public. That was a strange decision. Yes. Do you often make strange decisions? No. Then why tonight? She looked at me for several seconds. I watched someone treat you like you had no value. Her voice lowered. And I forgot to be careful. That answer stayed with me. I walked toward the door. Before I opened it, Evelyn spoke again. Shane. I looked back. Her expression had returned to its usual control, but her next words betrayed something beneath it. If you take the job, I won't protect you from the work. Good. I'll expect more from you than anyone else. Even better. And people will say you only got the position because of what happened tonight. I know. She watched me closely. Can you handle that? I looked down at the contract bearing the name I had almost forgotten how to be proud of. Then I met her eyes. I handled 6 years of being told I was nothing. I opened the door. A few office rumors won't kill me. I accepted Evelyn's offer 36 hours later. Not because of the salary. Not because Lauren called me 7 times and left 3 messages telling me I was making a mistake. I accepted because I opened my old laptop, found a folder filled with campaigns I had abandoned 6 years earlier, and realized something terrifying. I still wanted this. On Monday morning, I arrived at Carter Dynamics 20 minutes early. The receptionist recognized me immediately. So did everyone else. Conversations dropped as I crossed the lobby. A man near the elevators glanced at my temporary badge, then whispered to the woman beside him. That's him. I kept walking. The woman whispered back. The one Evelyn claimed? Apparently, I no longer needed a last name. I was just the man the CEO had publicly taken from his ex-wife. When the elevator doors opened, 3 employees inside suddenly found reasons to stare at their phones. I stepped in. A young analyst cleared his throat. What floor? 31. His eyes widened. Executive strategy. Of course he knew. By the time I reached my new office, my promotion had probably reached every group chat in the building. The office was larger than I expected. A laptop sat on the desk beside a stack of client reports and a handwritten note. No special treatment. Prove them wrong. There was no signature. There didn't need to be. I had barely put down my bag when a man in a charcoal suit appeared in the doorway. He was in his early 40s, broad-shouldered, and wore the polished expression of someone who enjoyed making other people uncomfortable. Shane Parker. That's what the badge says. He smiled without warmth. Marcus Reed, Senior Vice President of Strategy. I knew the name. Marcus had approved Lauren's Wilson proposal. He had also recommended her for regional director. He entered without being invited. So, he said, Looking around the office, Director of Brand Recovery. That's the title. Interesting choice. Evelyn seems comfortable with it. His smile tightened at my use of her first name. People noticed that. People would use it. Marcus leaned against my desk. Let me give you some advice. I just started, and I'm already getting free advice. People here respect results. Good. They don't respect public theatrics. Then you should speak to Lauren. His expression cooled. This company isn't a stage for your divorce. I agree. Do you? Yes. That's why I'm here to work. Marcus picked up the handwritten note. His eyes moved over it. Then he placed it back down. Everyone knows why you got this job. Because Evelyn reviewed my work. Because she embarrassed herself at the gala and needed to justify it afterward. I stood. Marcus was slightly taller than me, but he stepped back anyway. Maybe he expected me to remain quiet. Lauren had made that mistake too. You don't have to like me, I said. You don't even have to believe I belong here. I don't. But if you touch anything on my desk again, this conversation becomes less professional. Marcus stared at me. Then he laughed. Maybe there is something under the apron. He walked toward the door. Conference room B, 10 minutes. We'll see how long it lasts. The meeting concerned a client called Redmont Foods. I reviewed the file while walking down the hall. Their flagship frozen meal line had lost 26% of its market share in 8 months. Carter Dynamics had already presented 2 recovery campaigns. The client rejected both. Inside the conference room, 12 people sat around the table. Lauren was one of them. She looked as surprised to see me as I was to see her. What are you doing here? She asked. Marcus sat at the head of the table. Lauren is the account lead. Of course she was. I took the empty chair across from her. I'm here because Redmont is a brand recovery client. Lauren looked at Marcus. You put him on my account? Marcus smiled. Ms. Carter did. The room went quiet. Lauren's eyes returned to me. This is inappropriate. Then request another director, I said. I shouldn't have to restructure my team because my ex-husband wants to play executive. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Marcus didn't stop her. He was enjoying this. I opened the client brief. Why did Redmont reject the last campaign? Lauren crossed her arms. You can read the report. I did. Then you know. The report says the client considered the concept too nostalgic. That was their feedback. No, that was the sentence they used to avoid telling you the truth. Her eyes narrowed. And what truth is that? The campaign was dishonest. A creative director named Jenna looked up. Lauren laughed once. You've been here 12 minutes. And Redmont's customers have been leaving for 8 months. Marcus leaned back. Explain. I turned the presentation toward him. The rejected campaign showed a smiling family seated around a dining table beneath the slogan, Tradition you can taste. The brand is selling frozen pasta in plastic trays, I said. But the campaign treats it like a family recipe passed down through generations. Jenna frowned. Their original brand identity was built around family. 30 years ago. I tapped the sales data. Their largest remaining customer group is single adults between 28 and 44. People working late, eating alone, and pretending convenience is a choice. Lauren's jaw tightened. We can't build a campaign around loneliness. Why not? Because it's depressing. It's true. Marcus watched me more carefully now. I continued. Redmont keeps telling customers they're buying family tradition. Customers know they're buying dinner because they got home at 9 and don't want to wash a pan. Jenna slowly nodded. So we stopped pretending, she said. Exactly. Lauren shook her head. No client will approve a campaign that tells people they're alone. Not alone, I said. Independent. She gave me a cold smile. That's just loneliness with better copy. Then write better copy. The room went silent. Marcus covered his mouth, but I saw the amusement in his eyes. Lauren's face flushed. I turned to the whiteboard. What if the campaign says, dinner doesn't need an audience? Jenna sat forward. Another strategist added, or made for your schedule, not someone else's. I wrote both down. Ideas began moving around the table. A social media manager suggested short videos showing people eating after night shifts, gym sessions, late flights, and long commutes. A junior copywriter said, what about your table, your rules? That's the campaign, I said. Lauren slammed her pen down. No. Everyone stopped. She looked at Marcus. This is completely off-brand. Marcus glanced at the whiteboard. It may be exactly what they need. Lauren stared at him as if he had betrayed her. You approved my original concept, and the client rejected it. Her attention snapped back to me. You're doing this to undermine me. I'm doing my job. You don't know how this account works. I know the client is close to walking. Because people like you think one clever slogan fixes everything. People like me. I almost asked what she meant. Then I decided I already knew. Send the concept to Redmont, I said. You don't have authority over my team. Marcus spoke before I could. He does on recovery strategy. Lauren looked at him in disbelief. Marcus folded his hands. Prepare a rough deck by 3. The meeting ended 40 minutes later. No one followed Lauren out. 3 members of her team stayed behind to keep working with me. That told me more than any insult could. At 2:58, Jenna sent the deck. At 4:30, Redmont requested a video call. At 5:10, they approved the direction. By 5:15, the entire floor knew. Jenna appeared in my doorway carrying 2 coffees. You just saved a $12 million account on your first day. We haven't saved it yet. They asked us to extend the contract. That's a good start. She handed me a cup. For the record, most of us hated the old campaign. Why didn't anyone say so? She gave me a look. Lauren doesn't enjoy disagreement. I noticed. Jenna lowered her voice. Marcus doesn't enjoy being surprised either. What does that mean? It means he expected you to fail. Before I could respond, an email notification appeared on my screen. The subject line read, Urgent, potential misuse of confidential client data. My stomach tightened. I opened it. The message had been sent to Marcus, Legal, Human Resources, and Evelyn. It accused me of accessing restricted Redmont consumer research before the meeting. Attached was a system log showing my employee credentials opening the confidential file at 7:42 that morning. I hadn't entered the building until 8:10. Jenna read over my shoulder. Oh hell. A second email arrived. This one came from Lauren. I regret having to report this, but Shane has previously used my personal credentials to access work materials during our marriage. I believe this incident should be investigated immediately. I read the sentence twice. Then my office phone rang. Marcus's voice came through the speaker. Conference room A. Now, when I arrived, Lauren was already seated beside a representative from legal. Marcus stood near the window. Evelyn sat at the head of the table. She didn't look at Lauren. She looked at me. Did you access the Redmont research file before entering the building? No. Lauren sighed. Shane, don't make this worse. I turned toward her. You sent that email quickly. Because I recognized the behavior. What behavior? Using my access because you thought helping me gave you the right. The lawyer opened the system report. The credentials belong to Mr. Parker. I received those credentials this morning. The account was activated yesterday at 4:23. I wasn't here yesterday. Marcus finally spoke. Perhaps Ms. Parker gave you access remotely. Lauren shook her head. I didn't. The trap was clean. Someone had activated my account early, entered the file, and waited for me to succeed before reporting it. If the campaign had failed, no one would care. Because it worked, they could claim I cheated. Evelyn folded her hands. Lauren, you stated Shane previously accessed company material during your marriage. Yes. Without your permission? Lauren hesitated. Yes. Then why did you never report the security breach? Lauren's eyes shifted. It was complicated. Security breaches are not complicated. He was my husband. That does not answer the question. Lauren looked at me. For the first time, I saw fear. Not guilt. Fear that Evelyn had already found something. Evelyn slid a printed report across the table. The security team reviewed the login. Marcus's posture changed. Evelyn continued. The account was accessed from an executive floor terminal. She looked at Marcus. Specifically, the terminal inside your office. The lawyer turned toward him. Marcus's face remained still. That's impossible. No, Evelyn said. It's documented. Lauren went pale. Marcus recovered quickly. Multiple people have access to my office. Only 2 badges entered between 7 and 8 this morning. Evelyn placed another page on the table. Yours and Lauren's. The room went silent. I looked at Lauren. She stopped meeting my eyes. Evelyn's voice became colder. So let's try this again. She leaned back in her chair. Which one of you framed him? Lauren looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at the lawyer. Neither of them looked at me. Evelyn waited. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't repeat the question. That made the silence worse. Finally, Marcus leaned forward. This is being framed incorrectly. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. That is an interesting choice of words. I did not frame anyone. Then explain why Shane's credentials were used from your office. I can't. You mean you won't? I mean I don't know. Lauren suddenly spoke. I entered Marcus's office. Every head turned toward her. Marcus's face changed. Only slightly. But I saw it. Lauren continued before he could interrupt. I needed the Redmont pricing files. At 7:42 in the morning? Evelyn asked. Yes. Using Shane's account? Lauren pressed her lips together. I didn't realize which account was open. I almost laughed. You didn't realize you typed my username and password? She looked at me. The system may have saved it. My account had never been used on that computer. The lawyer glanced at the report. That's correct. Lauren's breathing grew shallow. Marcus stepped in. This is clearly a technical error. Evelyn turned toward him. You just said you didn't know what happened. I'm offering a possible explanation. You're offering Lauren a rope because she just tied herself to your office. Marcus's jaw tightened. The lawyer lowered his eyes to hide his reaction. Evelyn pushed another document across the table. This is security footage from the executive floor. Lauren froze. Marcus didn't move. At 7:38, Evelyn continued. Lauren entered your office. At 7:46, she left carrying a printed copy of the Redmont research summary. Lauren's voice cracked. There are cameras inside the hallway? There are cameras everywhere that confidential records are stored. Marcus turned toward Lauren. You said no one would see you. The words escaped before he could stop them. No one breathed. Lauren stared at him. Evelyn leaned back slowly. Thank you, Marcus. He realized what he had admitted. This is absurd. No, Evelyn said. It's finished. She turned to the lawyer. Suspend both of their system access immediately. Preserve all emails, messages, and file activity from the last 90 days. Marcus stood. You cannot suspend a senior vice president based on one sentence. I can suspend you because you participated in an attempt to fabricate evidence against another employee. You don't have proof of participation. You just provided it. This is retaliation. For what? His eyes flicked toward me. There it was. Not about security. Not about company policy. About me. Evelyn saw it too. Her expression became dangerous. Say it, she said. Marcus didn't. She stood. You believe I am protecting Shane because of what happened at the gala. I believe your judgment has become personal. The room changed. Lauren looked almost relieved. She had been waiting for someone else to say it. Marcus continued. You offered him a director position after one project. You publicly claimed him. Now you're launching an internal investigation because someone questioned his methods. I launched an investigation because his credentials were stolen. And you expect the board to believe this has nothing to do with your feelings? Evelyn stared at him. For the first time since I met her, I couldn't read her expression. Marcus thought he had found a weakness. He stepped closer to the table. This company cannot be run according to whoever you're emotionally attached to this week. The lawyer whispered, Marcus. He ignored her. You want to destroy my career to impress him? Evelyn's hand struck the table. The sound cut through the room. Everyone froze. Even Marcus. Evelyn Carter never lost control. That was part of her legend. She could fire 20 people without changing her pulse. She could watch a deal collapse and ask for lunch. But now her eyes were burning. You used his identity, she said, accessed confidential information, planted a false record, and persuaded his ex-wife to accuse him publicly. Marcus opened his mouth. She cut him off. Do not reduce your crime to my feelings. Her voice rose. You tried to destroy him because you couldn't stand watching him succeed in one meeting. Marcus's face hardened. So you admit this is about him? Yes. The answer stunned all of us. Evelyn stepped around the table. It is about him. She pointed toward me. He did the work. He saved the account. He earned the position. Her voice trembled with anger. And you decided the only explanation for his talent was that I wanted him. Marcus gave a bitter smile. Don't you? The question landed hard. Evelyn went completely still. Lauren stared at her. So did I? Marcus had crossed every professional line in the room, but he knew exactly where to strike. Evelyn turned toward me. For 1 second, the anger vanished. Something raw replaced it. Then she looked back at Marcus. That question has no relevance to your misconduct. That isn't a denial. No, she said quietly. It isn't. My chest tightened. Lauren's face drained of color. Evelyn faced the lawyer. Escort them out. Marcus laughed in disbelief. You're making a mistake. No, I made the mistake when I trusted you with authority. Security arrived less than 2 minutes later. Marcus refused to surrender his badge until Evelyn told the guards to call the police. Lauren didn't fight. She gathered her purse with shaking hands and walked toward the door. When she passed me, she stopped. You're enjoying this. No. You always wanted me to fail. I spent 6 years making sure you didn't. Her eyes filled with something close to tears. Then anger swallowed it. You think she's different? I said nothing. Lauren glanced at Evelyn. She doesn't love you. She loves rescuing damaged things. Evelyn's face hardened. Lauren looked back at me. When she gets tired of defending you, you'll realize I was the only person who ever really knew you. I held her gaze. You knew exactly where I was weak. My voice stayed calm. That isn't the same as knowing me. Lauren flinched. Security escorted her out. The door closed. The lawyer gathered the reports. I'll coordinate with compliance. Evelyn nodded. Send the board a preliminary notice before noon. The lawyer left. Then it was just Evelyn and me. The silence was unbearable. She walked to the window and looked down at the city. Her hand was still clenched. You hit the table, I said. I noticed. I didn't know you did that. I don't. Apparently, you do now. She slowly opened her hand. A thin red mark crossed her palm. I moved closer. Are you hurt? No. That looked painful. I've survived worse. That wasn't my question. Evelyn turned. The anger had disappeared, but her composure had not returned. You should go back to your office. Are you firing me? Her eyebrows pulled together. Of course not. Then stop ordering me out of the room. I'm not ordering you. You use the same voice you use when you fire people. That is my normal voice. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Evelyn noticed. Her shoulders loosened slightly. Then I remembered Marcus's question. And her answer. You didn't deny it, I said. The tension returned immediately. She looked away. Marcus was trying to provoke me. He succeeded. Yes. Was he wrong? Evelyn crossed her arms. This is not the time. When is the time? When you are not standing in the middle of a corporate investigation involving your ex-wife. That might take a while. Exactly. I stepped closer. Did you offer me the job because you wanted me? Her eyes met mine. No. The answer came quickly and firmly. I should have felt relieved. Instead, something in my chest sank. Then she continued. I wanted you long before I offered you the job. I stopped breathing. Evelyn closed her eyes for 1 second, as if she regretted saying it. When she opened them, the vulnerability was gone. I hired you because you are qualified, she said. The two things are separate. How long? Shane, how long have you wanted me? Her jaw tightened. Several years. I stared at her. You didn't know me. I knew your work. That isn't me. I knew how you wrote when no one was watching. Her voice softened. I knew you never took credit from junior employees. I knew you stayed after presentations to answer questions everyone else ignored. I knew you once turned down a campaign because the client wanted to manipulate grieving families. I remembered that account. I had walked away from a promotion because of it. No one outside Belford should have known. How did you know that? I was on the client's board. The pieces shifted. 6 years earlier, Belford had pitched a medical insurance campaign to Westbridge Holdings. I had refused to use fear-based advertising aimed at widows. The client canceled. My boss called me reckless. Apparently, Evelyn had been in that room. You were there? I said. Yes. You rejected our agency. I rejected your agency. Because of me? Because your boss tried to fire you in front of us for refusing to lie. A faint, humorless smile touched her lips. I decided I would hire you one day. But you didn't. You married Lauren 3 months later. I looked down. The memory of that wedding felt like someone else's life. Evelyn continued. Then you disappeared from the industry. And you kept checking? Yes. Why? She gave me a tired look. You know why. My throat tightened. For years, Lauren had made me feel invisible. Now I was standing in front of a woman who had noticed me before my own wife stopped looking. I should have said something. Instead, I stepped back. Evelyn noticed that too. Her expression closed. This is why I did not tell you. Because you thought I'd run? Because you just ended a marriage. That doesn't mean I can't hear the truth. It means the truth can become pressure. She picked up the reports. You owe me nothing. I know. No gratitude. No affection. No loyalty beyond your employment contract. I understand. Good. She walked toward the door. I caught her wrist. The movement surprised both of us. Evelyn looked down at my hand. I released her immediately. Sorry. She didn't move. You defended me, I said. I did my job. No. You lost control. Her gaze lifted to mine. That was not my job. Then why? She took one slow breath. Because I spent years watching from a distance while someone convinced you that you were ordinary. Her voice broke slightly. I could tolerate her failing to appreciate you. Her eyes hardened again. I could not tolerate her helping Marcus destroy you. I didn't know what to say, so I asked the only question that felt safe. What happens to Redmont? Evelyn stared at me, then gave a faint, frustrated laugh. You are changing the subject. Yes. You're not subtle. I've been out of practice. She handed me the client file. The account is yours. Lauren's team won't trust me. Make them. Marcus's people will fight every decision. Beat them. And if the board thinks you gave me too much power? Her expression became cold and certain again. Then prove them wrong before they can remove it. I took the file. Evelyn opened the door. Before leaving, she looked back at me. One more thing. What? The next time someone questions whether you belong here, don't wait for me to defend you. Her eyes held mine. Destroy the argument yourself. Lauren called me that night. I declined. She called again. I turned my phone face down and kept reviewing the Redmont campaign. 5 minutes later, a message appeared. We need to talk before this gets worse. I stared at it. Then another arrived. Marcus manipulated me. A third followed. I never wanted you fired. That one almost made me laugh. She had accused me of stealing confidential information in an email sent to legal, human resources, and the CEO. Apparently, destruction only counted if it worked. I ignored her and returned to the presentation. At 9:30, someone knocked on my apartment door. I already knew who it was. Lauren stood in the hallway wearing the same clothes she had worn to the investigation. Her makeup had faded, and her hair was pulled back carelessly. For years, I had known every version of her face. The ambitious one, the exhausted one, the angry one. This version was new. Defeated. You shouldn't be here, I said. I didn't know where else to go. That stopped being my problem 11 days ago. She looked past me into the apartment. Most of my boxes were still unpacked. Lauren noticed the cheap couch, the folding table, and the single lamp beside the window. Her mouth tightened. You're living like this? It's temporary. You could have taken more from the settlement. You made sure I felt guilty for asking. Her eyes dropped. Can I come in? No. Shane, you framed me this morning. Marcus told me it was only supposed to delay the promotion, and that made it acceptable. I wasn't thinking. You were thinking clearly enough to write that email. She looked down the hallway. A neighbor's door opened, then closed again. Lauren lowered her voice. Please. 5 minutes. I should have shut the door. Instead, I stepped aside. Old habits were difficult to kill. Lauren walked in and looked around as if she were inspecting damage she had caused, but didn't want to admit belonged to her. There's no dining table, she said. I don't need one. You always wanted a proper dining table. I wanted one when I thought I had a family. She went still. I closed the door. For minutes. Lauren turned toward me. Marcus said Evelyn was trying to use you against us. There is no us. You know what I mean. No, I don't. He said she had been waiting for a reason to remove him. He said your appointment gave her one. So you helped him manufacture evidence. I believed he would only prove you weren't ready. I stared at her. Do you hear yourself? Her eyes filled. Yes. Do you? I made a mistake. A mistake is sending the wrong attachment. You tried to destroy my reputation on my first day. I was angry. Because I succeeded. Because you succeeded with her. The truth came out before she could stop it. Lauren pressed her lips together. I felt something cold settle inside me. So that was it. No. You didn't care that I had a job. You cared that Evelyn gave it to me. She humiliated me. You humiliated yourself. She held your hand in front of everyone. We were divorced. 11 days, Shane. You filed 6 months ago. Lauren shook her head. That doesn't mean you had to move on immediately. I haven't moved on. Then tell me there's nothing between you. I said nothing. Her face changed. There is. I don't know what there is. But you want something. That is none of your business. I was your wife for 7 years. And for 6 of them, you treated me like unpaid staff. That isn't fair. You introduced me as a man who lived off you. You did live off me. I laughed once. Lauren flinched. I walked to the counter and pulled open a drawer. Inside were copies of bank records I had collected during the divorce. I placed them in front of her. Do you remember the Carson campaign? Her eyes flicked toward the papers. Yes. I wrote the launch strategy. You received a $40,000 bonus. Shane. The Wilkes renewal? She said nothing. I rebuilt the pitch after your team failed. You received another bonus. That money paid our bills. My work helped create it. You weren't employed. Because you asked me not to be. Her eyes hardened. We made that decision together. No. You cried until I agreed, then punished me for agreeing. That's not what happened. It's exactly what happened. She pushed the records away. You think Evelyn would respect you if she saw you at home every day? If she watched you lose confidence? If she had to carry everything? She saw my work after 6 years and recognized it in one night. The sentence hit her. Lauren looked at me as if I had betrayed her. So she's better than me. This isn't about her being better. It always becomes that. No, this is about you needing me to be smaller. Her eyes filled with tears. I needed you. You needed what I did. That isn't true. Then tell me what you loved about me. Lauren opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The silence answered for her. I looked away. Some part of me had still been waiting. Even after the divorce. Even after the gala. Even after the false accusation. I had been waiting for Lauren to say she loved my patience. My loyalty. The way I remembered every detail she forgot. The way I believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. Instead, she stood in my apartment with no answer. Finally, she whispered, "You made life easier." I nodded. "Thank you for being honest." That isn't all I meant. It's enough. I opened the door. Lauren didn't move. Marcus is going to blame everything on me, she said. He should blame himself. He has messages. Then get a lawyer. I could lose my career. I looked at her. At the woman I had once loved enough to erase myself for. You were willing to take mine before it started. Her face crumpled. I was scared. So was I. I didn't know who I would be if you became successful again. That confession stopped me. Lauren sank onto the edge of the couch. When we met, you were better than me at everything, she said. You walked into meetings and people listened. You could see solutions before anyone else. I was always Shane Parker's wife. I stared at her. She laughed bitterly through her tears. Then you stayed home. Understanding came slowly. And you liked that. I liked being the impressive one. The honesty was ugly, but it was real. Lauren wiped her face. The first time someone introduced you as my husband instead of introducing me as your wife, I felt like I had finally won something. We were never competing. I was. The final piece fell into place. Every joke, every insult, every time she discouraged me from applying for a job. Lauren hadn't lost respect for me because I stayed home. She had needed me to stay there so she could finally feel above me. You didn't want a partner, I said. She looked up. You wanted proof that you had beaten me. No. Yes. Maybe at first. For 6 years. Her voice broke. I'm sorry. I believe she meant it. That didn't make it enough. I stepped aside from the door. You need to leave. Lauren stood slowly. When she reached me, she stopped. We could try again. I stared at her. If I testify against Marcus, if I admit what happened, maybe we could start over. You're offering honesty as a trade. I'm offering to fix this. You can't. I still know you better than she does. I thought of Evelyn remembering a decision I made in a conference room 6 years earlier. I thought of the note on my desk. Prove them wrong. I thought of the way she had admitted her feelings, then immediately made it clear I owed her nothing. No, I said. You know the version of me you created. Lauren's eyes hardened again. And Evelyn knows the real you? She's at least willing to meet him. Lauren stepped into the hallway. Before I closed the door, she turned back. She will choose the company over you. Maybe. She'll protect her reputation the moment this becomes dangerous. Maybe. And when she does, I'll survive. That answer hurt her more than anything else I had said, because survival had once been the reason I stayed with her. Now it was the reason I could leave. The next morning, I arrived at work to find reporters outside the building. Cameras turned toward me. Mr. Parker, were you involved with Evelyn Carter before your divorce? Did Ms. Carter create a position for you because of a romantic relationship? Is it true your ex-wife has filed a complaint with the board? I stopped. Lauren had moved faster than I expected. Jenna appeared beside me. Don't answer. Security pushed a path through the crowd. Inside, every television in the lobby displayed the same headline. CEO accused of favoritism after publicly claiming employee. My phone rang. Evelyn, where are you? She asked. Lobby. Come to the boardroom. What happened? Lauren submitted a formal ethics complaint at 6 this morning. My jaw tightened. What did she claim? That we began a relationship before your divorce and manufactured the investigation to retaliate against her. That's a lie. I know. Does the board? A pause. They want proof. I entered the elevator. What kind of proof? That my decision to hire you was professional. You have my work. They believe my feelings compromised the decision. The doors closed. Did they suspend you? Not yet. Did they suspend me? Another pause. Yes. The word landed like a punch. I looked at my reflection in the elevator doors. One day? I had lasted one day before Lauren found another way to drag me back into nothing. I'll resign, I said. No. If I leave, the board loses its excuse. You are not the excuse. I'm the center of the accusation. And resigning makes it look true. I won't let you lose your company over me. Evelyn's voice sharpened. You don't get to make that decision alone. The elevator opened onto the executive floor. She was standing at the other end of the hallway, phone in one hand, surrounded by lawyers. Our eyes met. I ended the call and walked toward her. You told me I owed you nothing, I said. You don't. Then let me leave. No. Evelyn. She stepped close enough that the lawyers behind her went silent. I spent years regretting that I didn't offer you a place before someone convinced you to disappear. Her voice dropped. I will not stand here now and watch you disappear to protect me. This could cost you everything. Her eyes held mine. Then let them try to take it. At that moment, the boardroom doors opened. An older man in a dark suit looked directly at Evelyn. The board is ready. She didn't move. Neither did I. He looked between us. Miss Carter, you will be expected to disclose the full nature of your relationship with Mr. Parker. Evelyn's jaw tightened. I understood what the board wanted. Not facts. Not work records. A confession they could use against her. I stepped toward the room. Evelyn caught my hand. This time, there was no audience cheering, whispering, or staring. Only executives waiting to decide which one of us had become too expensive to keep. She looked at me. Whatever happens in there, don't lie for me. I tightened my fingers around hers. I won't. Then I opened the boardroom door. And I'm not running either. 14 board members sat around the table. Every chair was occupied except the two at the far end. One for Evelyn. One for me. The empty seats felt deliberate. Not equal to the board. Not part of it. On trial before it. Evelyn walked in first. I followed. The chairman, Charles Whitmore, washed our joined hands until Evelyn released mine and took her seat. I sat beside her. Charles was in his late 60s, silver-haired, and famous for speaking softly while destroying people's careers. He folded his hands. Ms. Carter, Mr. Parker, this is an internal ethics review. Nothing said here is to leave this room. I glanced at the glass wall. 3 lawyers stood outside. Of course, I said. Charles looked at me as though my voice had already irritated him. Mr. Parker, you are here to answer questions, not participate in the board's deliberation. Evelyn leaned back. He is also entitled to respond to accusations made against him. Charles didn't look at her. We are aware of his rights. Then act like it. The meeting had lasted less than 30 seconds, and the battle lines were already clear. A board member named Victoria Lang opened a file. Ms. Carter, when did you first develop a personal interest in Mr. Parker? Evelyn answered immediately. Approximately 6 years ago. Several board members exchanged looks. Charles's expression hardened. And when did you first contact him? Professionally? Last week. Personally? The same evening. At the company gala? Yes. Victoria looked at me. Were you legally divorced at that time? Yes. Had you communicated with Ms. Carter before then? No. Not by email, phone, social media, or through another person? No. She turned to Evelyn. Did you monitor Mr. Parker during his marriage? The wording made it sound criminal. Evelyn didn't react. I periodically checked whether he had returned to the industry. For 6 years? Yes. Why? Because I intended to recruit him. Charles finally spoke. But you never made an offer. He was unavailable. Marriage does not make someone professionally unavailable. It did when his spouse was building a career inside my company. That answer surprised the room. Charles narrowed his eyes. Explain. If I had recruited Shane while Lauren worked here, She could have claimed I was interfering with their marriage or using my authority to create personal pressure. Victoria tapped her pen. Yet you recruited him 11 days after the divorce. I recruited him after discovering that one of our highest performing campaigns was largely his work, and then publicly declared that he was yours. Yes. The single word caused another wave of discomfort. Charles looked almost offended by her refusal to retreat. Do you understand how inappropriate that statement was? Yes. Do you regret it? Evelyn glanced at me. No. My heart kicked hard. Charles leaned forward. You do not regret creating a public scandal? I regret that Shane was humiliated before I intervened. That was not the question. It is the answer. A man at the other end of the table cleared his throat. Evelyn, this isn't about whether Lauren behaved badly. This is about whether your feelings influenced a senior appointment. They did not. You created a director-level position. The position existed in the restructuring proposal approved last quarter. Victoria checked the file. That is correct. Evelyn continued. The title existed. Shane was selected because his work met the requirements. Charles looked at me. Then let's discuss that work. For the next 40 minutes, they questioned every part of my career. My time at Belford, the campaigns I had led, the years I spent outside the workforce, the Wilson strategy, the Redmont recovery. Every answer was treated like a possible lie. A board member asked whether Evelyn had helped me prepare for the Redmont meeting. No. Did she provide confidential research? No. Did she suggest the campaign direction? No. Then how did you understand the client so quickly? I looked at him. Because I read the brief. He frowned. Others read it. Then they should have found the answer too. Evelyn lowered her eyes. I thought she might be hiding a smile. Charles did not. Confidence is not proof of competence, Mr. Parker. No. The renewed Redmont contract is. A younger board member shifted in his chair. The contract has not been signed. The client sent written confirmation, pending final terms, because legal hasn't finished reviewing them. Charles closed the file. You seem very comfortable defending yourself. I spent years letting someone else define me. I met his gaze. I'm done with that. Silence followed. Victoria broke it. Miss Carter, would you have hired Mr. Parker if you had no personal feelings for him? Yes. Would you have announced publicly that he was yours? No. Then your feelings have already affected your conduct. Evelyn's jaw tightened. My conduct at the gala and the hiring decision are separate. The public will not see them as separate. This board is not the public. No, Charles said. We are responsible for protecting the company from it. He slid a document across the table. Evelyn didn't touch it. What is that? I asked. Charles ignored me. A resolution, he said. Temporary removal of Ms. Carter from operational control, pending an independent investigation. My stomach dropped. Evelyn remained still. How many votes? She asked. 9 in favor. A majority. Already secured before we entered the room. This had never been a hearing. It was an execution. Evelyn looked around the table. Who drafted the resolution? No one answered. She turned toward Victoria. You? Victoria looked away. Charles answered. The board acted collectively. That means you drafted it. Charles's expression didn't change. The company cannot survive a leadership scandal. The company survived your failed acquisition 3 years ago. His face hardened. That is irrelevant. It cost us $80 million. Evelyn's voice stayed calm. You remain chairman. Charles leaned back. This is exactly the attitude that has brought us here. No. What brought us here is that several board members have wanted my seat since the company crossed $10 billion in valuation. The room went cold. Charles stared at her. Evelyn continued. Lauren's complaint gave you a respectable excuse. Victoria spoke quietly. You're making serious accusations. I'm describing the timing. Charles pushed the resolution closer. Sign acknowledgement of temporary leave, and this can remain controlled. Evelyn looked at the paper, then at me. I knew what she was thinking. If she fought, they would say she was choosing me over the company. If she surrendered, they would separate us anyway. I stood. I resign. Evelyn's head snapped toward me. No. Charles finally looked pleased. That may be the most responsible path. I wasn't speaking to you. I faced Evelyn. This ends if I leave. No, it doesn't. The complaint centers on me. The vote was prepared before the investigation began. That doesn't change the damage. Her voice sharpened. Sit down, Shane. I won't cost you your company. You are not costing me anything. 9 people just voted to remove you. Because they wanted to. And I gave them the weapon. Evelyn stood. You think leaving takes the weapon away? Yes. It proves they can use you to control me. The room went silent. Charles watched us with open interest. Evelyn stepped closer. If you resign today, they will decide who I'm allowed to hire tomorrow. This isn't only about hiring. No. Her eyes held mine. It's about whether I'm allowed to choose you. The words struck harder than her declaration at the gala. Charles interrupted. This board will not tolerate personal drama. Evelyn turned on him. You voted before hearing a single answer. This is about risk. No, this is about power. She picked up the resolution. For 1 second, I thought she might sign. Instead, she tore it in half. Several board members stood. Charles's voice rose. You cannot reject a valid board resolution. I just did. You are suspended effective immediately. Evelyn dropped the pieces onto the table. Then you can explain to our lenders why the CEO was removed the day before the North Star acquisition closes. Charles froze. Victoria looked at him. What acquisition? Evelyn gave a cold smile. The confidential transaction only 3 board members knew about. The room erupted. What transaction? How large? Why wasn't the board notified? Charles slammed his hand down. Enough. Evelyn looked at him. You planned to announce it after removing me, didn't you? His silence answered. She turned to the other directors. North Star's patent portfolio is worth nearly $2 billion. Charles arranged for a private investment group to acquire it before Carter Dynamics could complete due diligence. Victoria's face went pale. You have proof? Yes. Evelyn placed a flash drive on the table. Charles stood. This is theft of confidential communication. No, it is evidence of a chairman violating his fiduciary duty. The power in the room shifted instantly. 9 votes no longer looked permanent. Charles pointed toward the door. Security. No one came. Evelyn's chief counsel entered instead. She placed another folder in front of Victoria. Copies of the transaction records, the lawyer said, including payments connected to Whitmore Capital. Charles's voice dropped. You're destroying this company over a man. Evelyn looked at me, then back at him. No. Her voice was quiet. I'm stopping you from using him as cover while you rob it. Charles stared around the table. No one stood beside him now. Victoria turned to the lawyer. Freeze the resolution. Charles snapped. You can't. We just did. Within 20 minutes, the meeting had changed completely. Charles was ordered to surrender access. An emergency investigation was approved. Evelyn's suspension was withdrawn pending review. But she wasn't finished. When we stepped into the hallway, her assistant rushed toward her. Your mother has called 6 times. Evelyn's expression hardened. Why? She saw the news. A second assistant appeared behind her. And the Harrington family is waiting in your office. Evelyn stopped. I looked at her. Who are the Harringtons? She didn't answer immediately. Her assistant did. The family involved in Ms. Carter's engagement announcement. I stared at Evelyn. You're what? Her eyes closed briefly. It isn't real. That's not an answer. It was a proposed business alliance. Were you going to tell me? Yes. When? After I ended it. Her office doors opened. An elegant older woman stood beside a man my age wearing an expensive suit and an expression of ownership. Evelyn's mother looked at me first, then at Evelyn. This, she said, is the man you're risking everything for? Evelyn stepped in front of me. I'm not discussing Shane with you. The man beside her mother laughed softly. I think we deserve an explanation. Evelyn looked at him. You deserve nothing, Grant. His smile vanished. Her mother's voice sharpened. The engagement press conference begins in 2 hours. My chest tightened. Evelyn turned toward me. I stepped back. You should handle this. Shane, I won't stand here while you cancel a billion-dollar alliance because of me. Her face changed. You still don't understand. What? She walked toward me, ignoring her mother, Grant, the lawyers, and every employee watching from the hallway. Then she took my hand again. The alliance was supposed to protect my position. Her fingers tightened around mine. But it was built on the assumption that I would marry a man I do not love. Grant's face darkened. Evelyn's mother whispered, Don't. Evelyn didn't even look at her. She kept her eyes on me. I was going to end it quietly. Her voice became hard. Now I'll end it where everyone can hear. 2 hours later, Evelyn stood before dozens of reporters. Grant and his family waited beside the stage, expecting her to repair the scandal. Instead, she removed the engagement ring they had given her. She placed it on the podium. The proposed union between the Carter and Harrington families is canceled. Cameras exploded with flashes. Her mother stood. Grant stepped forward. Evelyn, think carefully. I have. This will cost your company hundreds of millions. Then we'll earn it back. You'll lose the board. I'll replace them. You'll lose everything. Evelyn looked past him. At me. I stood at the back of the room, unable to move. Then she faced the cameras. My company can recover from a failed alliance. Her voice carried through the hall. My reputation can survive a scandal. She reached out toward me. But Shane Parker spent 6 years being treated as though he was replaceable. Every camera turned. Evelyn didn't hesitate. He isn't. I walked toward her. The reporters shouted questions. Grant cursed under his breath. Her mother looked ready to collapse. Evelyn took my hand when I reached the stage. Then she looked directly into the cameras. My company can be rebuilt. Her fingers locked around mine. But there is only one Shane. The press conference destroyed 3 things before noon. Evelyn's engagement, Grant Harrington's confidence, and Carter Dynamics' stock price. By the time we returned upstairs, the company had lost nearly 9% of its market value. The financial networks replayed Evelyn's words every few minutes. There is only one Shane. Some anchors called it romantic. Others called it reckless. The board called an emergency meeting. Evelyn's mother called it suicide. She followed us into Evelyn's office and shut the door behind her. Do you understand what you've done? Margaret Carter demanded. Yes. You rejected the Harrington Alliance on live television. Yes. You humiliated Grant. He'll survive. You put a man you barely know above this family. Evelyn removed her jacket and placed it over a chair. I know him better than I know Grant. Margaret looked at me, not with anger, with calculation. I had seen that expression on investors deciding whether a failing company was worth saving. You should leave us, she said. No, Evelyn replied. I was speaking to him, and I answered. Margaret's mouth tightened. This behavior may impress reporters, but it will not protect him from what comes next. I stepped forward. What comes next? She turned toward me. The Harrington family controls 2 of our largest credit facilities. Grant's father will freeze negotiations. Suppliers will panic. Employees will lose confidence. That sounds like a threat. It is a forecast. Evelyn moved between us. My finance team is already preparing alternatives. Margaret laughed. You think alternatives appear because you demand them? They usually do. Not this time. She opened her tablet and placed it on the desk. A message from Harrington Capital filled the screen. All pending financial agreements with Carter Dynamics were suspended. A second notice showed that Northbridge Bank was reviewing the company's revolving credit line. Evelyn read both without reacting. Margaret watched her. Grant offered you stability. Grant offered ownership. He offered marriage. He expected obedience. He expected partnership. No, he expected my last name attached to his family's money. Margaret glanced at me. And what does Shane offer? The question cut through the room. Evelyn answered immediately. Nothing. I stared at her. Margaret gave a cold smile. At least you understand. Evelyn's eyes hardened. He offers nothing because I have never asked him to purchase the right to stand beside me. Margaret's smile disappeared. I am not a merger, Evelyn continued. Neither is he. You are a CEO. Yes. Then behave like one. Evelyn pointed toward the door. I am. Margaret looked at her daughter for several seconds. Then she turned to me. When the company begins firing people, remember this moment. She left. The door closed. Silence followed. Evelyn walked to her desk and opened 3 financial reports. I watched her move from document to document as though her mother hadn't just predicted the collapse of everything she had built. Are you okay? I asked. No. The honesty surprised me. She sat down. I have 6 hours to replace $500 million in short-term financing. What happens if you can't? We delay payroll expansion, freeze 3 projects, and sell assets. How many jobs? Potentially 800. My chest tightened. Margaret's final words returned. Remember this moment. Evelyn read my expression. Don't. Don't what? Take responsibility for Grant's retaliation. You canceled the alliance after choosing me publicly. I canceled it because marrying him would have been a mistake. But the timing exposed him. She turned her screen toward me. Harrington Capital suspended financing within 40 minutes. The documents were already prepared. I studied the notice. The legal formatting was complete. Every account number had been inserted. This had not been written after the press conference. They planned this, I said. Yes. As leverage. Yes. So if you ever refused Grant, they would attack the company. Her voice stayed calm, but her fingers tightened around a pen. The alliance was never protection. It was a hostage agreement. I looked again at the notice. Then at the Northbridge review. Could Charles be involved? Evelyn stopped. Why? He tried to remove you before the engagement announcement. He wanted control of North Star. And Grant's family wanted control of you. I moved to the whiteboard. What if those aren't separate? Evelyn stood. Explain. Charles creates a leadership crisis. You're suspended. Grant steps in with emergency financing. The board restores stability by approving the marriage alliance and giving Harrington influence. Evelyn's expression changed. I continued. Then Charles gets North Star. Grant gets Carter Dynamics. You keep the CEO title long enough to make it look legitimate. She walked to the whiteboard. That would require coordination between Whitmore Capital and Harrington. Do we have access to Charles's transaction records? Legal seized them. Then search for Harrington-linked entities. Evelyn picked up the phone. Within 15 minutes, her chief counsel and finance director were in the office. Within 40, we found the first connection. Whitmore Capital had received $12 million from a consulting firm called Ashford Strategic. Ashford was controlled by Grant's uncle. The second connection was worse. Northbridge Bank's review had been initiated by a board advisor appointed by Charles. Evelyn stared at the documents. They didn't react to the canceled engagement. No, I said. They were waiting for it. Her chief counsel looked at us. If we can prove coordination, this becomes market manipulation. An attempted corporate takeover, Evelyn said. The finance director shook his head. Proof won't solve today's liquidity problem. The room went quiet. He was right. A criminal investigation might destroy Grant later. Payroll was due Friday. Evelyn looked at the numbers. We need another lender. No traditional bank will move fast enough, the finance director said. Private equity? They'll demand board seats. Asset-backed credit? Our major properties are tied to existing covenants. Every answer ended with another locked door. For the first time, I saw fear in Evelyn's face. Not fear for herself, for the employees whose names existed beneath those numbers. She walked to the window. I should have prepared for this. You couldn't know they had coordinated. I knew Grant used money as control. You didn't know Charles was helping him. I should have. The finance director quietly left with the lawyer. They understood she needed the room. I approached her. You once told me not to wait for you to defend me. She didn't turn. This isn't the same. No. Now you're the one being told you can't survive without someone else. Her shoulders went still. Grant thinks you need him. I need financing. That isn't the same as needing Grant. She finally faced me. Do you have $500 million hidden in your apartment? No. Lauren kept the good couch too. A faint laugh escaped her. It vanished quickly. I walked to her desk and opened the list of company divisions. Carter Dynamics owned logistics software, medical analytics, consumer marketing, and several smaller technology businesses. Which division has the strongest recurring revenue? Data services. Which has the lowest debt? Carter Health Systems. Could we separate its receivables? Her eyes narrowed. Use them as collateral? Yes. The board would need to approve it. The same board that just discovered Charles tried to steal North Star? They're frightened. Good. Frightened people move quickly when the alternative is losing everything. Evelyn studied me. That structure would take weeks. The normal version would. I pulled up the Redmond account model. What if we create a limited financing vehicle against 12 months of contracted revenue rather than the division itself? She came closer. That still requires outside capital. Who competes with Harrington? Everyone with money hates Harrington. Who hates him most? Evelyn stared at me for a moment. Then she reached for her phone. Daniel Mercer. The name meant nothing to me. Her expression said it should. Mercer Global lost a port acquisition to Grant last year, she explained. Grant leaked false debt concerns and collapsed their bid. Will Mercer help? No. Then why call him? Because helping us would hurt Grant. Daniel Mercer agreed to a meeting in 90 minutes. He arrived with 6 advisors and the confidence of a man who knew desperation had invited him. He looked at Evelyn, then at me. So this is Shane. I didn't ask how he knew. Everyone knew now. Mercer sat across from us. I'll provide the 500 million. Evelyn's finance director exhaled. Then Mercer smiled. For 30% of Carter Health Systems. No, Evelyn said. You need the money today. The division is worth $4 billion. Not if Harrington collapses your credit. You're asking for a distressed sale. I'm offering survival. The room tightened. Mercer leaned back. Take the deal, Evelyn. Romance is expensive. She stood. The meeting was over. I stayed seated. What if you receive 8% of revenue for 5 years? Mercer looked at me. Evelyn did too. That wasn't offered, Mercer said. It is now. Evelyn's finance director started calculating. I continued. You provide the capital through a secured revenue instrument. No equity. No board seat. You receive 8% of Carter Health's contracted revenue until you recover principal plus a fixed return. Mercer's smile faded. Why would I accept that instead of ownership? Because ownership makes you Grant's replacement. His eyes sharpened. And you don't want people saying you could only beat him by using his methods. Silence. Evelyn watched me without blinking. Mercer tapped one finger against the table. What return? 14%. 20. 16. 18. 17. And Carter Dynamics gives Mercer Global first negotiation rights on the Denver logistics contract. Evelyn's finance director whispered, we can support that. Mercer looked at Evelyn. Does he speak for you? She didn't hesitate. Yes. The word hit me harder than it should have. Mercer extended his hand. 17%. Evelyn shook it. The deal closed at 6:47 p.m. Payroll was protected. The projects remained active. No jobs were cut. At 7:15, Evelyn addressed the company from the main auditorium. Thousands of employees joined through livestream. She explained the financing attack, Charles's role, and the emergency agreement without mentioning the engagement once. When she finished, applause began slowly. Then the entire auditorium stood. Evelyn looked overwhelmed. Only for a second. Then she found me near the side of the stage. Come here, she said. I shook my head. This is your moment. Her expression hardened. Shane. I walked toward her. She took my hand in front of the company again. This time, no one whispered. No one laughed. No one looked at me as though I had been rescued. Evelyn turned toward the employees. The financing structure that protected this company was Shane Parker's. The applause became louder. My throat tightened. She looked at me. You told me you wouldn't let me lose my company because of you. I remember. You were wrong. I raised an eyebrow. She pulled me closer. I almost lost it because I tried to carry everything alone. Her voice lowered, but the microphone caught every word. And today, you didn't stand behind me. She tightened her fingers around mine. You stood beside me. For 6 years, Lauren had treated my support as proof that I was beneath her. Evelyn stood before the entire company and made it clear. Standing beside a powerful woman did not make me weak. It meant she trusted me with the weight. I looked at the employees still applauding. Then at Evelyn. This time, I said, I'm not going anywhere. Her eyes softened. Good. Before either of us could say more, her chief counsel rushed onto the stage holding a phone. Evelyn, we have a problem. The applause faded. What happened? The lawyer turned the screen toward us. Marcus had released internal financial records to the press. Not random files. Altered ones. They showed Evelyn transferring company money into accounts linked to me. The headline was already spreading. CEO funneled millions to secret lover. Evelyn stared at the screen. I felt the room turning again. One victory. Then another knife. Her lawyer lowered her voice. The federal authorities are asking questions. Evelyn looked at me. They'll come for both of us. I took the phone from the lawyer and studied the documents. The account numbers were real. The transfers were not. But whoever created them understood Carter Dynamics systems. Marcus had made one mistake before. This time, he would not make the same one. I handed the phone back. Let him come. Evelyn studied me. You have a plan? No. I looked toward the cameras gathering outside the auditorium doors. But Marcus thinks we're still defending ourselves. I loosened my tie and walked toward them. He's about to learn we're done doing that. The reporters surged forward the moment I stepped through the auditorium doors. Mr. Parker, did Evelyn Carter transfer company funds to you? Are you under federal investigation? Were you romantically involved before your divorce? I stopped in front of the cameras. Evelyn caught up beside me. Her hand closed around my arm. Shane, don't answer without counsel. That's what Marcus expects. Her eyes narrowed. What are you doing? Changing the question. I faced the reporters. I did not receive company money. Voices exploded. Then why is your name on the accounts? Are the records fake? Did Ms. Carter authorize the transfers? I raised my hand. The crowd quieted slightly. The documents are altered, I said. And the person who released them knows we can prove that. Evelyn's chief counsel moved closer. Stop. I ignored her. So ask yourselves why he released them anyway. The reporters hesitated. One woman near the front called out, "Who is he?" Marcus Reed. Evelyn's lawyer closed her eyes. The room erupted again. I continued before anyone could stop me. Marcus was suspended after participating in an attempt to frame me for unauthorized access. Now he has released financial records designed to create the same accusation on a larger scale. Do you have evidence? Not yet. Evelyn stepped beside me. Several cameras turned toward her. She looked at me once. Then she understood. Marcus wanted us hidden behind lawyers. Silence would let his story become truth. Evelyn faced the press. But we know where the false documents came from, she said. Her lawyer whispered, Evelyn. She continued. The files contain internal formatting used only by Carter Dynamics' legacy accounting system. A reporter frowned. Wouldn't that suggest they are authentic? No, Evelyn said. That system was retired 18 months ago. I looked at her. That was the weakness. Marcus had copied old records because he no longer had access to the current platform. Evelyn's voice remained steady. The account numbers are real. The transaction codes are not. They belong to a system that can no longer authorize transfers. Another reporter shouted, Then why use Mr. Parker's name? I answered, Because Marcus doesn't need the lie to survive an audit. The crowd quieted. He only needs it to survive tonight. Evelyn looked at me. I continued. He wants lenders to panic, regulators to freeze operations, and the board to remove Evelyn before the records are verified. The financial reporters began checking their phones. They understood the strategy. This wasn't just revenge. It was another takeover attempt. Evelyn's chief counsel stepped forward. We will release verified banking records within the hour. A man near the back shouted. Is there a personal relationship between you? The question cut through everything else. Evelyn went still. The easy answer was no. We had never kissed. Never gone on a date. Never crossed the line Marcus accused us of crossing. But no would also turn what existed between us into something shameful. Something we had to deny. I looked at Evelyn. She was watching me carefully. For years, Lauren had spoken for me. Tonight, Evelyn was waiting. So I answered for myself. There was no relationship before my divorce. The reporter pressed harder. And now, I took Evelyn's hand. The cameras flashed. Now, I said, I'm hoping there will be. For the first time since I met her, Evelyn Carter looked completely stunned. The reporters shouted over one another. I barely heard them. I was watching her. She leaned closer. You chose a strange time to ask me out. I've had a difficult week. That is not an excuse. Is that a no? Her fingers tightened around mine. No. My chest dropped. Then she added, It means you're asking properly when this is over. Despite the scandal, the cameras, and federal investigators waiting upstairs, I smiled. Yes, ma'am. Her eyes narrowed. Never call me that again. The verified records were released 43 minutes later. No money had been transferred to me. But Marcus had anticipated that. At 9 that evening, a second package reached the press. This one contained voice recordings. Lauren's voice. Evelyn's voice. Mine. The conversations had been edited to make it sound as though Evelyn and I had planned to remove Lauren before the gala. In one clip, Evelyn said, The position is already prepared. Then my voice answered, She'll never see it coming. I had never spoken those words to her. But I recognized them. I had said them to Jenna while discussing the Redmont campaign. Marcus had taken fragments from recorded meetings and built a confession. Evelyn listened to the file once. He's getting desperate. Her chief counsel shook her head. He's getting effective. The public won't wait for forensic analysis. I looked at the timestamps attached to the recordings. One dated 3 weeks before the gala. That was impossible. I had never entered Carter Dynamics before that night. Where does Marcus claim this conversation happened? Executive conference room 4, the lawyer said. Was the room in use? Evelyn pulled up the building schedule. Her expression changed. It was reserved by Lauren. I stared at the screen. 3 weeks before our divorce was finalized, Lauren had been meeting Marcus privately. Evelyn called security. Pull all access records for conference room 4. The answer arrived 10 minutes later. Lauren had entered. Marcus had entered 6 minutes after her. Neither left for nearly 2 hours. There were 7 similar meetings over 4 months. I felt no heartbreak. That surprised me. Only clarity. Lauren had accused me of moving on too quickly while secretly working with Marcus before our marriage ended. But the access logs gave us something more valuable than proof of hypocrisy. They showed where Marcus had collected the original audio. Conference room 4 automatically recorded strategy meetings for transcription. He used recordings from Lauren's account, I said. Evelyn nodded. Which means the unedited files still exist. Her lawyers searched the archive. Marcus had deleted them from the visible system. He had forgotten the compliance backup. At 10:14 p.m., we found everything. The original conversations. Lauren and Marcus discussing the Wilson campaign, planning the false login, discussing Charles Whitmore. And finally, Marcus explaining the financial attack. Lauren's voice shook in the recording. What happens to Shane? Marcus laughed. He goes back where he belongs. Where is that? Nowhere. I listened without reacting. Evelyn did not. Her face turned white with fury. The recording continued. Lauren whispered, I don't want him arrested. You wanted him broken. I wanted him to come back. Then make sure he has nothing else to return to. The room went silent. Lauren had not simply tried to damage my new career. She had tried to remove every alternative until I had no choice but to depend on her again. Evelyn reached for the laptop. I caught her hand. What are you doing? Calling the police. Counsel is already doing that. I'm calling Lauren. No. She needs to hear. No. My voice stopped her. For once, I didn't need Evelyn to fight for me. I looked at the recording. Release everything. The lawyer hesitated. Some of it is personal. So was the attack. Evelyn studied me. Are you sure? Yes. At midnight, the unedited files reached regulators, the board, and every major news organization that had published Marcus's allegations. By 12:20, the story reversed. By 1, federal investigators had located Marcus at a private airport outside Newark. He was arrested before boarding a chartered flight. Charles Whitmore was detained the next morning. Lauren turned herself in through an attorney. She called me once before entering the courthouse. I answered, not because I still loved her, because I wanted the ending to be clear. Shane, she whispered. Marcus told me no one would get hurt. You knew I would. I didn't think it would go this far. You wanted me unemployed, disgraced, and dependent. I wanted you home. There it was. The same word that had controlled 6 years of my life. Home. Once, it meant loyalty. Then it became a cage. You never wanted me home, I said. Lauren started crying. You wanted me beneath you. That isn't true. It is. Can you forgive me? I looked through the glass wall of Evelyn's office. She stood inside, arguing with 3 board members while refusing to surrender control of the company she had just saved. Powerful, difficult, terrifying, and the first person in years who had seen my support as strength instead of weakness. I don't hate you, I told Lauren. She inhaled sharply. But I will never come back. I ended the call. 2 weeks later, Evelyn was formally restored as CEO by a unanimous board vote. Charles was removed. 3 directors resigned. The Harrington family withdrew every remaining threat after federal investigators began reviewing their connection to the takeover attempt. My suspension was lifted. Then Evelyn offered me a promotion. Executive Vice President of Brand Strategy. I read the contract in her office. This is too much. No, I've been here less than a month. You saved a major account, prevented a hostile takeover, and structured emergency financing. I also caused 2 scandals. One was mine. The other used my face. Still not your fault. I closed the folder. I'm not accepting this. Evelyn's expression hardened. Why? Because everyone will say you gave it to me because of us. There is no us. I raised an eyebrow. She corrected herself. Not yet. Exactly. I moved around the desk. I want to earn it without anyone questioning whether you carried me. I don't care what they question. I do. She studied me for several seconds. Then she nodded. What do you want? A 6-month performance review. For the executive position? Yes. You want to do the work before accepting the title. I want the title because I did the work. A slow smile appeared. Fine. That was easy. It wasn't. She opened another drawer. Sit down. Why? Because you still owe me something. I froze. What? You asked me out in front of 30 reporters. I remember. You said you would ask properly when this was over. My pulse changed. Evelyn stood. For once, she looked uncertain. Not weak. Just exposed. Is it over? I asked. The company is stable. Marcus. In custody. Lauren. Cooperating with prosecutors. The board. Afraid of me again. Good. I stepped closer. Then, Evelyn Carter, will you have dinner with me? She folded her arms. That depends. On what? Whether you intend to cook. I laughed. You know about that too? Lauren complained about it constantly. She hated that I cooked. I don't. You've never tried my food. I have confidence in your previous performance. That is an extremely corporate answer. It's still yes. 6 months later, I earned the executive position. Not because Evelyn demanded it. Because the board approved it after I led 3 successful recovery campaigns and brought in the largest new client in company history. At the announcement, the entire company gathered in the same ballroom where Lauren had once told me I belonged at home. I stood near the stage as Evelyn finished speaking. Shane Parker did not need this company to give him value, she said. He brought value back to us. The applause rose. I walked toward her. She handed me the contract. Then, just as she had the first night, she took my hand and pulled me to her side. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Is he still yours?" Laughter filled the ballroom. Evelyn looked at me. Her expression was calm, but I knew the question mattered. She would never trap me with love. Never turn affection into debt. Never demand ownership I hadn't chosen. So this time, I answered first. I wrapped an arm around her waist. The room went silent. 6 months ago, I said, she told all of you I was hers. Evelyn's eyebrow lifted. I pulled her closer. She was wrong. A few people gasped. Her eyes narrowed dangerously. Then I smiled. Back then, she hadn't asked me yet. The tension broke into laughter. I looked directly at her. Now she has. Her expression softened. And I kissed her in front of the entire company. When I pulled back, she was smiling. A real smile. Rare enough to silence the room all over again. And now, I said, I'm hers because I choose to be. Evelyn touched my face. Then she looked toward the employees watching us. Her old confidence returned. Good. She pulled me back against her side. Because I'm not letting him go.